Council was in executive session. It ended at 7:17 p.m. and I'll make a motion to adjourn from finance.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. We are adjourned for finance. At this time, I'd like to call the February 10th, 2025 council meeting to order. If you please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Will the clerk please call the roll?
Coin.
Here.
DeSalvo.
Here.
Hare. Rose.
Here.
Shields.
Here.
Simpson.
Here.
Reading of the minutes.
Mr. President,
Mr. Shields.
I will make a motion that the minutes of the regular meeting of January 27, 2025 as prepared and submitted by the clerk be approved.
Second.
Any discussion? Will the clerk please call the roll on the approval of the minutes?
DeSalvo.
Yes.
Rose.
Yes.
Shields.
Yes.
Simpson.
Yes.
Coin.
Yes.
Motion passes 5-0.
Reports of standing committees. The Finance Committee met prior to council this evening and will meet again in 2 weeks. As you know, we discussed pretty much everything in finance prior to coming to council. Health, Safety, and Sanitation, Mr. Simpson.
Thank you, Mr. President. I have no reports for any meetings that's happened thus far this year, but either the last meeting of March or the first meeting in April, I'm going to ask the clerk of council to contact the police chief, fire chief, and Mr. Piccoli to give us our yearly update on what's going to be happening or what they would like to see happening in the year of 2025. Also, I believe it's, Mayor, if I think I'm correct, February 27th of this month, we have the LST Advisory Board meeting.
Thank you. Public Properties, Mr. Shields.
Thank you, Mr. President. We had one item tonight from a previous public properties meeting that came to finance regarding Lake Medina and some improvements there that the Park District is going to put in to enhance the property out there. That will be on our next council agenda. No other meeting scheduled at this time.
Thank you. Special legislation, Mr. Rose.
Thank you, Mr. President. The quadricycle RCA is moving through the system. We had it reviewed finance. We had a modification that was accepted. We'll be voting on it next council meeting.
Thank you. And Emerging Technologies, Mrs. DeSalvo.
Thank you, Mr. President. We have a meeting scheduled on February 27th also at 5 o'clock. We will be finalizing at that point the website design and getting that rolling along.
Good. Okay, request for council action. We have several for the Finance Committee. We have 24-263, addendum to quadricycle RCA approved draft ordinance. 2535, budget amendment. 2536, amend and restate ordinance 3921, Medina TV. 2537, Lake Medina improvements. 2538, fund advanced sanitation fund. 2539, budget amendments. 2540, accept storm sewer easement on Hillview Way. 2541, expenditure for HSH Construction Parks Department. 2542, 2024 carry forward. 2543, general liability insurance renewal. And 2544, PO for Huntington Bank. Reports of municipal officers. Mayor Hamwell.
Thank you, Mr. President. The United Way of Summit and Medina counties is offering free tax preparation for households earning less than $67,000 per year. To schedule an appointment, you can dial 211 or go to the website www.uwsummitmedina.org/FEC. The community's annual Black History Month service will be held this year at Second Baptist Church, which is 451 Bronson Street, on Thursday, February 27th at 7 p.m., and all are welcome. And I'd also like to let the council know I'm very proud to announce Medina Fire Chief Larry Walters was selected by the Ohio Fire Marshal's Office for the 2025 Ohio Fire Service Valor Award for his efforts in assisting a resident out of a burning house on October 23rd, 2024. The award ceremony will be in Columbus on Wednesday, May 14th at 2 p.m. We're very proud and thankful for Chief Walters' efforts, as well as the other firefighters and safety services that day. And well done by all. Well done, Chief.
Is that it? All right, Mr. Huber, Law Director.
Thank you, Mr. President. I have no report.
Thank you. Mrs. Marshall, Economic Development Director.
Thank you, Mr. President. Just one item to note for council. We did finally receive approval from the state of Ohio for our brownfield assessment grant. That was the $300,000 grant with our $100,000 matching funds. It took about 3 months for them to get the paperwork to us, a grant agreement, and so we finally got that in place and the subrecipient grant agreement. So we'll start working on next steps of hiring whoever we're going to hire to do that work, and I'm working with Patrick on that. So we'll give more updates as we have more information to share, but the whole process just for approval took about a year, so thank you.
Thank you. Chief Kenny, Police Department.
Thank you, Mr. President. Just an update on the municipal deer hunting program. Archery season ended February 13th. There are a total of 13 permits issued. A total of 18 deer were harvested, 5 bucks, and 13 does. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Lestuka, Manana Municipal Court.
Thank you, Mr. President. No report this evening.
Thank you. Mr. Gladys, Building Official.
Thank you, Mr. President. I have no report.
Thank you. Mr. Worley, Parks and Recreation Director.
Thank you, Mr. President. I just wanted to highlight a couple programs that we have upcoming at the Rec Center. This Valentine's Day, February 14th, we are hosting another Young Chef class titled Let's Bake for kids ages 8 to 12. It's a newer program for us. Secondly, our Senior Speaker Series has returned, and Friday, February 21st at 10:30 a.m., Mayor Hanwell will be speaking. Coffee and lunch is provided again. Thirdly, we have a couple newer programs. We are scheduling a casino trip March 11th to Jack Casino and several restaurant trips scheduled there. There'll be more restaurant club trips to come into the future. Basically, the Rec Center coordinates the scheduling and takes care of the transportation. Lastly, our after-school program is kicked off and going well. We are doing after-school activities for children K through 5th grade, providing homework help, snacks, gym games, and arts and crafts. And this is a collaborative effort with the school district where they provide busing from the elementary schools to the Rec Center for us to provide this service for those in the community. And anybody interested in finding out more information about that program for you can sign up weekly for the remainder of school, or if you're interested in next year, contact us at medinarec.org. Thank you.
Thank you. Chief Walters, Fire Department.
Thank you, Mr. President. Pleased to announce tonight that for the first time in our department's history, we are now staffed 24 hours each day with on-duty firefighters. Beginning on February 1st, which was last Saturday night, our department added a shift of on-duty firefighters from midnight until 8 a.m. Prior to this, the department, we relied strictly on our firefighters responding from home, as you know, after midnight. This often resulted in response times to fires and other emergencies that could exceed 20 minutes. I'll also note that in doing this, we're doing it in a pretty unique way, using our existing part-time firefighters to cover these additional shifts, which is a significant cost savings to the department and the community. The implementation of this new staffing coincides with a recent completion of a 2-year applied research project titled Understanding the Impacts that On-Duty Firefighters Could Have on Response Times to Life Safety and Property Conservation in the Medina Fire Department. That's what's up on the board there. I just recently submitted that about 2 weeks ago. This evaluated research study examined the current industry standards and best practices that our department should use as a guide when considering the addition of on-duty firefighters. It also included a survey, a customized survey that compared the response models used by 21 other fire departments of similar size and population. 20 of those were in Ohio and 1 in Pennsylvania. And then the third research topic in this study was specific ways in which the department and our community could benefit from the addition of 24-hour or on-duty, 24-hour on-duty firefighters. This report's currently being reviewed by the Ohio Fire Chiefs Ohio Fire Executive Program and should be made available soon.
Thank you, Mr. Patton, City Engineer.
Thank you, Mr. President. A little update on our municipal court renovation project. We did start construction last week, which is very exciting. We expect to receive the guaranteed maximum price package number 2 this week from our CMA, our firm. We'll review it and anticipate submitting it to council for review at the next finance meeting.
Thank you. Notices, communications, and petitions. We have one for a liquor permit, not to object to the transfer of a C2X and a C2 permit for Riser Foods Code, doing business as Madonna Get Go, 3389, 302 South Court Street, to Get Go Operating LLC, doing business as Madonna Get Go, 3389, 302 South Court Street.
Move not to object.
Second, not to object?
Any discussion? Will the clerk please call the roll?
Rose.
Yes.
Shields.
Yes.
Simpson.
Yes.
Coin.
Yes.
DeSalvo.
Yes.
Motion passes 5-0.
Unfinished business, we have none. Introduction of visitors. Members of the public will be permitted the opportunity to speak on any issue or concern which pertains to the city during the portion of the council agenda devoted to introduction of visitors. All comments shall be directed to the chair, and a reasonable time limit of approximately 5 minutes will be imposed. If there's a group, please appoint a spokesperson. Speakers should approach the rear microphone and state their name and address so it can be entered into the minutes. Members of the public will be afforded the opportunity to comment on other portions of the meeting as determined by the chair or by a vote of majority of council members present. Is there anybody that wishes to address council at this time? We're all waiting for the after meeting here for the appointment, so, okay, we'll move on. Introduction and considerations of ordinances and resolutions. At this time, I'd entertain a motion to suspend the rules requiring 3 readings on the following ordinances and resolutions. Resolution 3325, ordinance 3425, 3525, 3625, 3725, 3825, and 3925.
Mr. President,
Mr. Shields?
I will make a motion to suspend the rules requiring 3 readings of tonight's ordinances and resolutions.
Second?
Any discussion? Will the clerk please call the roll on the motion to suspend the rules?
Shields.
Yes.
Simpson.
Yes.
Coin.
Yes.
DeSalvo.
Yes.
Rose.
Yes.
Motion passes 5-0.
Resolution 3325, a resolution authorizing the mayor to submit a grant application to the Cleveland Clinic for the purchase and installation of 5 automatic external defibrillators, or AEDs.
Move to approve.
Second?
Discussion? Mr. Worley?
Thank you, Mr. President. This request is to approve a grant application to the Cleveland Clinic Strategic Priorities Fund in the amount of $11,100 to fund the purchase of AEDs as now required by House Bill 47. If we're awarded the funds, the AEDs will be purchased and placed at various parks. Thank you.
Thank you. Any further discussion? Will the clerk please call the roll on the adoption of the resolution?
Simpson.
Yes.
Coin.
Yes.
DeSalvo.
Yes.
Rose.
Yes.
Shields.
Yes.
Resolution 3325 passes 5-0.
Ordinance 3425, an ordinance accepting the appraisal's fair market value estimates for the Medina Street Bridge project.
Move to approve.
Second?
Discussion.
Mr. President,
Mr. Shields?
the emergency clause has been requested. I move to add it this time.
My second includes the emergency clause?
Discussion on both the ordinance and emergency clause. Mr. Patton?
Thank you. We are currently developing a project to replace the Medina Street Bridge. In order to do that, we do need to acquire several easements, 3. By passing this ordinance, the council will give our representative the right to make these offers to these 3 individuals. Would like to thank Mr. Shields. He did catch at committee meeting that 2 of the 3 addresses, due to a cut and paste error on my part, were incorrect. Appreciate it. And emergency clause because we'd like to keep the project moving and start acquiring these easements.
I think we're always got to look out for you. I'm sure you do the right thing. Any further discussion on the emergency clause of the ordinance? Will the clerk please call the roll on the adoption of the emergency clause?
Coin.
Yes.
DeSalvo.
Yes.
Rose.
Yes.
Shields.
Yes.
Simpson.
Yes.
Motion passes 5-0.
Will the clerk please call the roll on the adoption of the ordinance?
DeSalvo.
Yes.
Rose.
Yes.
Shields.
Yes.
Simpson.
Yes.
Coin.
Yes.
Ordinance 3425 passes 5-0.
Ordinance 3525, an ordinance amending ordinance number 16624 passed September 9th, 2024, relative to the agreement with Ruling Company as construction manager for the renovation of the Medina Municipal Courthouse.
Move to approve.
Second.
Discussion.
Mr. President.
Mr. Shields?
The emergency clause has been requested. I move to add it this time.
My second includes the emergency clause.
Discussion on the ordinance emergency clause. Mr. Patton.
Thank you, Mr. President. Last September, when we passed this ordinance, the agreement did reference Exhibit B. However, Exhibit B was not attached to the ordinance. This will do that. Asking for the emergency clause because, of course, I just mentioned the project is underway.
Thank you. Any further discussion? Will the clerk please call the roll on the adoption of the emergency clause?
Rose.
Yes.
Shields.
Yes.
Simpson.
Yes.
Coin.
Yes.
DeSalvo.
Yes.
Motion passes 5-0.
Clerk, please call the roll on the adoption of the ordinance.
Shields.
Yes.
Simpson.
Yes.
Coin.
Yes.
DeSalvo.
Yes.
Rose.
Yes.
Ordinance 3525 passes 5-0.
Ordinance 3625, an ordinance amending and restating ordinance number 3921 passed March 22nd, 2021, relative to the memorandum of understanding with the Medina County Board of Commissioners for Medina TV production services.
Move to approve.
Second.
Discussion?
Mr. President.
Mr. Shields?
The emergency clause has been requested. I move to add it this time.
My second includes the emergency clause.
Discussion on the ordinance and the emergency clause. Mr. Fry in the back room.
Thank you, Mr. President. As you mentioned, this is to amend and restate the ordinance passed in 2021. It is a change in the hourly rate to get it up to the standards of 2025 from $52 to $67 an hour, including our hourly rate and benefits. The emergency clause is requested so we can make the changes to this agreement in the negotiating window with the county and also here with the city. And also gives the county time to approve this after we get it approved here through city council. And this also goes into effect January 1st of 2025 for payment.
Thank you. Any further discussion or comment on the ordinance or the emergency clause? Will the clerk please call the roll on the adoption of the emergency clause?
Simpson.
Yes.
Coin.
Yes.
DeSalvo.
Yes.
Rose.
Yes.
Shields.
Yes.
Motion passes 5-0.
Will the clerk please call the roll on the adoption of the ordinance?
Coin.
Yes.
DeSalvo.
Yes.
Rose.
Yes.
Shields.
Yes.
Simpson.
Yes.
Ordinance 3625 passes 5-0.
Ordinance 3725, an ordinance amending section 31025 and 31026 of the Salaries and Benefits Code of the City of Medina, Ohio, relative to the municipal court.
Move to approve.
Second.
Discussion. Cindy.
Thank you, Mr. President. This is just to update the salary benefits code for our 2 grant positions and our judicial assistant, who is part-time.
Thank you. Any further discussion? Will the clerk please call the roll on the adoption of the ordinance?
DeSalvo.
Yes.
Rose.
Yes.
Shields.
Yes.
Simpson.
Yes.
Coin.
Yes.
Ordinance 3725 passes 5-0.
Ordinance 3825, an ordinance authorizing the finance director to make certain fund advances.
Move to approve.
Second.
Mayor?
Thank you, Mr. President. On behalf of the Finance Department, this is an advance from the general fund to the sanitation fund to cover expenses until the sanitation increases can help stabilize the funds and keep it in the black.
And thank you. Any further discussion? Clerk, please call the roll on the adoption of the ordinance.
Rose.
Yes.
Shields.
Yes.
Simpson.
Yes.
Coin.
Yes.
DeSalvo.
Yes.
Ordinance 3825 passes 5-0.
Ordinance 3925, an ordinance amending ordinance number 20924 passed November 25th, 2024, amendments to the 25 budget.
Move to approve.
Second.
Discussion. Mayor?
Thank you, Mr. President. On behalf of the Finance Department, these are budget amendments. One is an adjustment for a donation made from the Park Foundation for $50,000 to the Police Department, and the other is a donation from the Ken Cleveland Foundation for the Parks Department to upgrade the playground equipment at the park. Other adjustments are to cover the requested advance in various projects, including the courthouse renovations, courthouse lease, and Progress Drive water tower.
Thank you. Any further discussion? Will the clerk please call the roll on the adoption of the ordinance?
Shields.
Yes.
Simpson.
Yes.
Coin.
Yes.
DeSalvo.
Yes.
Rose.
Yes.
Ordinance 3925 passes 5-0.
Council comments? Mr. Simpson, no? No. Come on. Okay. Anybody else on this end? No? All right, at this time, the council meeting will move into the Ward 1 vacancy interviews. Let me give you a little background of how we're going to do this. We had 5 applicants that submitted applications that wanted to be reviewed. I think 4 of them showed up today, so there'll be 4 interviews. What we're going to do is ask the people who aren't in the process of being interviewed to exit and go downstairs to the basement, just so you can't listen in on what we're asking and get a heads up on what's going to happen. And our friend here, Mr. Patton, will be your proctor, so to speak, and watch you downstairs. You could talk to him if you like. He's all right. But he'll be down there watching you, and we'll go through the process. And the way that we'll interview people is that in the order that the applications were received. So we'll go through the interview process that way, and that'll be Mark Williams, Crystal Marker, Chet Simmons, and then Holly Bett. So we'll go through that process that way. So each member will get an opportunity to have 5 minutes to, give a little introduction of themselves and whatever they would like to say of why they're pursuing the seat of the Ward 1 council vacancy to council. And then council will then in turn ask one question of the candidate, and it'll be the same question to each candidate, so there's no unfair advantage to any one candidate to see what the answer would be to that question. And then council will then recess into executive session to discuss the candidates and make a decision on which candidate of the 4 will be chosen to fill the vacant seat on council. And that decision will be made this evening. So everybody will know prior to their leave who will be selected to fill that vacancy on Ward 1. So right now, I guess I would ask everybody except for Mark Williams to follow Mr. Patton downstairs, and then we will ask you to come up as you're selected. And Mark, I would ask you to come to sit in the front chair here, so you don't have to stand in the back or anything. You can sit down. It'd be a lot easier. We don't want to make you tense by making you stand the whole time. We want to make this as kind of a informal and relaxing process as possible. All right? If it's possible, it could be.
All right, your mic's hot. Thanks, Chief. Yes, sir.
Okay, I guess we're ready to go. Mark, welcome. First of all, I'd like to say I'm glad to see that you took the initiative to submit your application to fill the Ward 1 vacancy. And what would happen is if this Ward 1 vacancy is filled, I believe you'll have to run for office this November. Is that correct, Kathy? I think you'll have to run for office this November if you're selected. So I assume by taking this initiative, you're willing to run for the Ward 1 office if selected this November again. And we'll give you, 5 minutes or so to give your presentation of why you want to serve as the Ward 1 council representative and any other things that you want to inform council about. So you have the floor.
Okay. First, I'd like to thank Mr. President and Council for the process, making it clear and easy, so thank you for that. To answer your question, Mr. Coyne, I do intend on running for council in November. I actually had petitions pulled for that prior to knowing what the process would look like. So, to introduce myself, I think all of council knows me, but my name is Mark Williams. I am a resident of Ward 1 here in Medina. My wife and I, Allie, have lived on the same property for 20-plus years. I am also a business owner here in the Ward 1 area. We own Williams on the Lake. I have 2 wonderful children, Zachary, who is also a business owner in Ward 1, and Claudia, who is currently attending Lincoln Memorial University College of Veterinary Medicine down in Tennessee. We are here as a family because we love this community. So when I was in Columbus at Ohio State, I met my wife in college. She was in Columbus State and I was in Ohio State. And we decided to get married. And I said, we can move back to Medina. And she said, I won't repeat all the words, but she said, why would I basically move north? It's colder. And I said, because it's a wonderful town. I've loved this community my whole life. I am a lifelong resident here. As a member of the business community here in Medina, as I said, my wife and I have owned Williams on the Lake since 2014. The previous 20 years, we worked for my parents in the same business in this community. I've had a fantastic opportunity to work with business members, residents, in some of the charitable organizations, and with government agencies and boards that I've had the opportunity to be on. I'm a past member of the Chamber of Commerce Board of Directors. I am still a member. I've been involved with Main Street Medina, and Williams on the Lake is still a member. I'm one of the co-founding members of Medina Westside Community Initiative here in Ward 1. We're members of the Heartland Community Church, now Disciples Church, that meets at Williams and formerly out in Weymouth. I am a former president of the Medina Lions Club. I'm a former assistant scoutmaster for Troop 501 here in Medina. And I'm the vice chair of the Board of Zoning Appeals here in Medina for the last decade or so. All of these experiences have allowed me to be involved in the community in various ways, including in some small governmental ways. I think our current council and our current administration have done a fantastic job of giving us a steady ship, wonderful governance. In my day job, I've had the opportunity to travel all around northeastern Ohio, travel western Pennsylvania, in North and South Carolina, and I have seen a lot of communities. And there are so many communities that I go to that envy places like Medina, would love to have the things that we have, the sense of community and the fact that we're a hub. For Christmas, we have a wonderful candlelight walk that the entire region knows about and comes to. There are things like that that council and the administration are key to. I think that need for consistent and steady leadership, Councilman Rose has indicated he's not intending on running again. Clearly, we're going to have some other council changes one way or another this year, and the mayor's indicated he doesn't intend on running for office again. So we need folks who have that sense of history, but I also think it's critical that the person that's filling this seat and is willing to run for office in November also has the ability to look objectively, maybe not quite as tied to the governmental functions that we've had in some of those decisions, but does have some of that history. I have all of those things because I've been involved in the community. Some of my strengths, I have dedication to this community. I think my family is the most important thing to me, and this being a strong, wonderful community is the reason that we're here. It's the reason I have my family here, and I enjoy having them here. I do have perseverance and the ability to follow things through. I have experience in both administration and management functions. I'm currently a project manager in the construction industry. I am also still involved with Williams on the Lake. I've been an event coordinator, so I'm used to paying attention to little details and still seeing the big picture. I also have existing relationships with a lot of the surrounding governmental agencies, our villages, townships, the other cities, the county commissioners. I've had those relationships for long-standing periods for most of them. And I think that those can be invaluable in the city being able to coordinate some of the infrastructure and coordination that needs to be done. I think the city's done a great job with coordinating with the schools and with Main Street Medina and with some of the other communities, especially things like the shared police, the shared fire. Those are critical. I think we can build on that. And those relationships are going to be critical to that. So those are some of my strengths. My biggest weakness, I asked my wife, and she was pretty clear about it. Stubbornness is my biggest weakness, and I do fight that. I do understand that I tend to think I'm righter than I am a lot of time, but I've been working on that one. I tried to find three things that I think Medina needs to work on, to key in on. I think, as I mentioned before, keeping that steady hand on the government wheel and making good decisions, continuing to be fiscally and financially responsible. I think that's a key, and again, council's done a great job with that. I think we need to make sure we have that presence continuing. Proper coordination on future infrastructure with the surrounding entities, I think is going to be key, because as Medina kind of builds out, the surrounding communities, the ones that are growing. And I think recognizing that and working with those entities is going to really be the focus on how successful Medina is in managing that traffic and things like that. And There are some other things that I think we can do. I think Chief Walter's done an amazing job with the fire department. I love hearing that we have full-time fire available. I have a lot of residents say, why don't we have a full-time fire department? Having served on the mayor's Fire District Advisory Council, I got to hear some of the reasons that we can't do that, and really went through that in quite a bit of detail. But there's other things like that. And the last thing is, I think we need to work on the deer population. Chief, no slang intended on you, but 18 deer in a year is not really solving the problem. So I think there's more to be done there. Thank you for the consideration tonight, and thanks for what you guys have done for Medina.
Thank you, Mark. What we're going to do now is council members will ask you a question. We'll go through and, just respond, to the question as you'd like. So we're going to start out with Mr. Simpson here, and we'll just go down the line. So, Denny?
Hi, Mark. Thanks again for stepping up to the plate and applying for this position. I wish you the best of luck. My question is, we are a nonpartisan board here. For me, I'm passionate about that. Except for times that some of my colleagues on councils run for other offices over the years, I truly didn't know what their political affiliation was. I'd just like your comment on, do you think being nonpartisan is a good thing? If yes, briefly explain why, and if not, what would you do to try to change it?
Sure. The easy answer is, yeah, I think that's a very important thing. I think the job of council, as I see it, as I've watched you guys over the years, most of what you do, I would say the vast majority of what you do, there should be no difference in your opinion based on your ideologies. Basic common sense of, do the police need their equipment? Do the fire department need their equipment? Should the roads be taken care of? Those are basic questions answering the needs of the community. I don't think partisanship has any part of that. And I think that's important. I think you guys have done a great job to balance that. I've actually, I don't know if you know my political affiliation, but I have fought back on my side of folks that say, well, Wadsworth's partisan, Brunswick's partisan. I think that's one of the unique features of Medina. I think that nonpartisan actually adds to the strength of council.
Thank you.
Thank you. Mark, my question is going to be, you've been in Medina a long time. What currently you think is the most pressing issue facing the city of Medina?
Honestly, traffic. I think traffic management and the fact that we have so many state routes coming through, continuing to innovate in that manner. Clearly, with the events that have happened on the square in the recent past, I think that shows that people's behavior in driving is changing. People's consideration of others, sadly, is not what it was, and I think we need to be very innovative on how we work with that.
Thank you, Mr. Shield.
Hi, Mark. Thanks for being here this evening. Tell me what you're most proud of as a Medina resident. What is it about Medina that you feel you would tell somebody to sell them on this community?
Sure. I don't think real hard about that, because I do. I tell people about what a wonderful town this is, and again, that sense of community. There are a lot of people in this town who see things differently than I do, and almost without exception, we can have a conversation about that. I've literally called people and said, hey, let's meet at the bar and have a beer and talk about that difference. And I don't see that everywhere, and that, I think, is exemplary of what Medina is.
Thank you.
Mr. Rose?
Thank you, Mr. President. Mark, thank you for stepping up. Appreciate it. I know it was a decision you had to make. As a business owner, how would you take your experiences and expertise to address what the top 3 pressing problems in Ward 1? Tell us what they are, you think they are, and how do you do that?
I am going to take a little bit of a slant from some residents' input that I've gotten. As I mentioned, I had the opportunity to run in 2023 for the at-large position, and I got the opportunity to talk to a lot of residents. Some of those were Ward 1 residents. And I think city utilization of the budget in Ward 1, I think we could tweak that quite a bit. There are some concerns with residents that I don't know have been addressed, and maybe that's a ward function, but bringing it to council, having that ward representation, there's some resident concerns that need to be addressed. I think as far as the ward goes, that's probably the number 1 thing. Traffic is number 2. I mean, Ward 1 has Huntington Street, which, God bless the police, they do work very hard to keep it, but that's become a secondary route. I don't think it was really designed to do that. I think we can work on that in State Street and some traffic issues and maintenance. Number 3 is a little bit more personal. There's some areas down towards the southwest side of Medina, primarily Lafayette Road 42, that I think we need to really look at getting some sidewalks in for safety and the community.
Thank you.
Mrs. DeSalvo?
Thank you, Mr. President. Thank you, Mark. Appreciate you coming in tonight. So, as I'm sure you're aware, Medina is an aging population. We have one of the oldest average ages of our populace here in the city of Medina. I think it's really important that we try to keep our young people here, but I know one of the issues that they face is finding a place to live. Do you have any thoughts on how we might be able to provide either affordable housing or a solution to the housing shortage for our young people to be able to find a place to live and stay here?
Honest answer is I don't. I wish I did. That's a real challenge that, council being the maker of policy and the administration being the implementer of policy really need to work on. Being a community that's not totally but largely built out, where do we put multi-tenant structures and how do we make that fit into the city plan? That's a pretty big swing. So I think that's going to take some concentration.
Okay, thank you.
Well, thank you. We appreciate your interview, and I guess you can go ahead and take a seat back in the audience. And, no, you don't have to go downstairs. You can listen now. I guess the question is, can you have Pat bring up Crystal Marker? Yes. Crystal, welcome. You have to stand right in front of us here. No, I'm just kidding. You can sit over here in the chair. We'll just sit and relax. It's the front chair over here where the microphone is, and then we'll just ask you questions. Just starting off, welcome. We're glad that you filled out your application to fill the Ward 1 vacancy and took the step to subject yourself to public scrutiny, as we all do here. I'd just like to know that this seat is vacant and you will have to run for office in November. That would be when the seat, you have to go through the election process and be elected again to the seat, so you'll serve until that point in time. What we'll do is we'll give you an opportunity to speak and tell us a little bit about yourself, why you wanted to fill the vacancy for Ward 1. And then what we'll do after you do that is each member of council will ask you a question. We're asking the same question of each candidate, so there's no difference in different questions that you'll be asked. You'll be asked the same question. So at this time, I'll let you take the floor and go ahead and tell us about yourself a little bit and why you're interested in the Ward 1 vacancy.
Okay. Can you hear me all right?
Yes.
Well, my name's Crystal Marker, and I have lived in Medina County since 1999. I have moved back and forth from Medina Township to the city. I am currently in Ward 1 and have lived on Quail Roost for 7 years. I have a wonderful husband, 5 children. 4 of them are functioning members of society, and 1 is a sophomore at Medina High School. I grew up in Olmsted Falls, and I moved to Medina for the space and the schools. I like the rural setting of Medina. I like the city part of Medina. I like the blend of residents and industry that Olmsted Falls did not have. When I was very young, at 21, I ran for city council in Olmsted Falls. I was really fascinated with the process. I liked the notion of having a voice in the community. I saw things like streetlights that needed to be in places that weren't because I had small children. I can't believe it at 21, but I can remember, I don't know how familiar you are with the city, but Olmsted Falls has no industry. It's all residential, and so it makes the taxes very, very high. Olmsted had Berea, had Bagley Road that connected to Berea, and Berea was annexing Bagley Road where all the industry was. And so I started to get involved because I saw the problem with that leaving and the tax base that was going to go with it. So that prompted me to run. I got involved. I lost by 100 votes. But from that, I got invited to be on the Park and Recreation Board. I got more involved with the city. I really enjoyed being a part of it and looking at the things that affected my family, that affected other families in the community. I went to work. I've worked a long time in manufacturing and focused a lot of time on taking waste and variation out of processes for many companies. I feel like the skills that I learned in the working world are applicable everywhere. I've done it in healthcare, I've done it in manufacturing, I've done it with the government, and so I have stopped working because I'm fortunate enough to be able to, and I still would like to do things. I'm passionate about improvement, I'm passionate about doing things the least waste way, maximizing everything that you can get, being really conscious about money, being conscious about how people do their job, what's the gripe that somebody has with the way that their job is, and how can you make it easier and smarter to do. That's pretty much it.
Well, thank you. At this time, we'll go through the questioning process of this. So Mr. Simpson will have the first question.
Thank you, Crystal, again for putting your name forward here. And again, if you were appointed, fortunate enough to be appointed tonight, it's going to be a long process for you, good and bad. So my question to you is, this board is nonpartisan. It was put in the charter back, I believe, in the 50s. My question is, do you agree with the charter that it should be nonpartisan, or do you disagree with it? And if you disagree with it, what would you do to change it?
Well, I have no issue with nonpartisan. To me, I think the most important thing I always look at it as trying to balance a triangle. So you would think about probably your residents, you would think about your municipality, and then maybe you'd think about your industry base. And the decisions that you make should help all those involved. If you're leaning one way or the other, you're not going to have that balance. Something's going to go wrong at some point. So I don't think that there's one party that has it all right. And I think we've seen that over the last several years.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. As a resident of the city of Medina, what do you think the most pressing issue is facing the city at this time?
Well, that's actually one of my questions. I didn't know if we would get to ask questions, but I'm curious as to how much of the time you folks in this room spend in the today box and how much you spend in the tomorrow box. What are we doing to keep things on course? I heard just general conversations about moving funds, balancing budgets, running out of things, not having things, wages changing. You know, there's a lot of moving parts to running a city, especially a city the size of Medina. And so what I'm curious about and what I would say is probably the biggest challenge in my mind is staying current and on course for whatever you've budgeted and planned for that very short term, but also living in that tomorrow box to say, what's it going to look like? What do we need to watch for? What are we planning for? So as this fizzles, we're ready to take that next step.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Shields?
Thank you again for being here this evening. When you tell somebody you're from Medina and they ask you, what do you love most about Medina? What is your answer?
You know, I was thinking about that today because I made a list of things that I like and things that maybe I like a little less. Even though Medina is a big, I graduated with 200 kids in my class. My daughter in 2014 graduated with, 700 in her class? It's a huge city, it's a big place, but you see people walking around the square and it's quaint. It has charm, it has draw, it has a school system that's turning out fine individuals, college bound or trade bound, whatever it is. I think it's got so many attributes, and I'm very, very proud to say that I live in Medina.
Thank you.
Mr. Rose?
Thank you, Mr. President. Crystal, thank you for coming here tonight. Appreciate your time here. In your resume here, you mentioned that you're process management. How would you use your experience in process management to improve the three biggest problems that, as you see them, in Ward 1?
Well, for any process, when you observe and look at the way things go, you're looking for that waste, those things that don't need to happen, or that it can survive without it. Because when you take that waste away, then you streamline. Your best success for anything that you're going to do is to have good repetition or standard work, where I'm going to do it the same way you do it, the same way you do it, so that we've got that repetition that gives us a predictable result. Now, I'm not going to sit here and tell you that I know the three things in Ward 1, but I know the way I would go about trying to address them. It's been my success so far.
Thank you.
Mrs. DeSalvo?
Thank you, Mr. President. Thank you so much for coming out tonight. So, as I'm sure you're aware, Medina is an aging population. We have one of the oldest average ages of the cities in the area. We also have a housing shortage, at least affordable housing, and places for young people to find apartments that they can, stay here and, possibly build their family. What do you think would be a possible solution, or do you have any thoughts on a possible solution to help keep our young people here?
So that's interesting, and I live on Quail Roost, which is behind the fire station. Small houses, slabs, starter homes, or folks that are empty nesters are down my street. And so as I see folks leave, maybe to go to assisted living, I do see a lot of younger families coming in to start. And, one thing that comes to mind for me is I think this posting of jobs, I see it on LinkedIn, like the Medina page now that has the jobs. And I think about things like that, using the social media to reach out to those demographics that you want to draw. I had a couple write me a letter saying that they were interested in a house like my house, small, starter home, and if I ever plan to leave, would I keep them in mind? And I think that that's the kind of thing that we can talk about. Those are the kinds of things we can look at. You've got folks that might be ready to leave or maybe need to leave, so why can't we partner with them to help start to turn the group?
Okay, thank you.
Well, thank you. At this time, you could probably enter the audience and sit. We're going to have the next candidate come. Chief, if you don't intimidate him too much, can you bring up Chet Simmons? It is. He's got a gun with him. That's kind of
Very safe.
very safe is right. Correct. See, isn't this better than sitting at home watching TV? You could come here, enjoy the government process, or you could be sitting at home watching TV. Chad, if you could come up here in the chair over here. We have the hot seat for you over here. And welcome, and as with everyone, we like to thank you for your interest in the Ward 1 vacancy and submitting your application. As you know, this seat is vacant, and you will have to run for office in November to retain the seat. I just want to make sure you understand that process that you'd have to go through by accepting this application to run for this seat. The process is going to be, we're going to give you a little opportunity to introduce yourself, discuss whatever you'd like to discuss with council, and why you ran for the Ward 1 vacancy. And after that, each council member will ask one question, which is the same question we ask everybody, so that we can judge the answer and judge your responses to our questions. So at this time, I give the floor to you to go ahead and say what you'd like to say about the Ward 1 vacancy.
All right. Thank you so much. My name is Chet Simmons, and obviously I'm interested in the Ward 1 council seat, and would like to ask for your vote this evening when you go back and meet. A little bit about me. I want to say that I'm a committed person. When I get involved with something, I'm committed to it. I've been Eagle Scout, and I had 55 years with registered consecutive service at the unit, the district, the council level. I'm a Red Cross blood donor, and my next donation will be 35 gallons, so that takes a while. Member of the Medina Breakfast Kiwanis Club. I've been president the last 2 years, been a member for 40 years, and we were just recently honored at Main Street Medina for the Nonprofit of the Year. So we bring a lot of things to Medina. Career-wise, I'm retired. I spent about 20 years at Plasticoat, aerosol spray paint on Lake Road, and another 20 years with Ryerson Steel. They have service centers all around the globe. Other community involvement, I'm a graduate of Leadership Medina County, past president of the Medina Area Chamber of Commerce. I've served on the boards of the Red Cross, Medina United Way, most recently Medina County Historical Society. Currently, I'm a member of the Friends of the Cemetery, Spring Grove and Old Town, member of the Medina County Friends of the Parks. I serve on Barbara's semi-quincentennial 250th celebration. I was appointed to the Shade Tree Commission and appointed by the city and approved by the commissioners, and currently serving on the Medina County Planning Commission. I'm an active volunteer with Feeding Medina County Parks, the Engine House Museum, and Main Street Medina, mostly with their farmers markets. From a historical perspective, always been interested in city government. In the 80s, I followed the city. I was a stringer for the Akron Beacon Journal. And then when there was a Ward 1 opening, I ran for that and served 2 terms as Ward 1 City Council. Some of the things we did there at that time, we got the county's first Habitat for Humanity house on Bronson Street. There was a problem with a tavern over at the corner of Foundry and Bronson, Yenny's West Side Tavern, and we were able to get that closed, and currently there's 2 Habitat homes there. So just working with Reverend Burden, Second Baptist Church on a lot of community efforts. We organized with the VOF, the Volunteer Opportunities for Teens. We had a home painting project. We painted 4 houses fully and like 16 partially, parts of garages and whatever. And then we had a September spruce up where we would help homeowners with their plantings in yard areas and things. And I've always been kind of a bird dog with the CDBG monies to make sure it goes back to Ward 1 ideally, if possible. It's meant for low-income areas, and so just to make improvements that way. As far as Ward Pacific, when I suspected there might be an opening for Ward 1, I started attending meetings, so it's been a year that I've attended finance and council and even the budget hearings, trying to get up to speed so I could hit the ground running if accepted. You know, public safety would obviously be number one for me. Police, fire, LST. I spent several months this year talking with the Medina County Drug Task Force, and we were successful in the eviction and conviction of some residents there that were, you know, harmful to the ward. And so following that process, I'd really like to see a real sense of pride with Ward 1. People need to know it's a great place to raise a family, a great place to grow up. We know that recently when you put the dog park in, what happened was we heard that it was a safety concern and not a celebration concern. If there's a way to communicate with people and get the word out more, to make that happen. And we can do those kinds of things with like the neighborhood association. We've got Bankers Row here, we've got Water Tower District over here. Just ways to show residents that we've got your back. You know, if their trash cans are rolling out in the street, help pick them up, bring them back in. They need a hand with yard work, just help out. Just being nice, you know, just those little things. We'd like to make the city, or make the ward especially, more walkable, more pedestrian friendly, more bicycle friendly. At our house at the corner of Washington and Prospect, since 2019, we've had a food pantry out there. And anybody who needs assistance, stop by, they can pick up food. We stock it twice a day. It's been a great thing for the neighborhood. And it's a great thing that a lot of people will also refill it. It's not just us. We have a lot of community partners, a lot of neighborhood partners. We expanded that 2 years ago into a produce stand there from May to October. And in the winter, we have what we call a Prospect Closet. We've got winter coats, we've got outerwear, hats, mittens, gloves, and the stuff really goes off that rack, but also it gets refilled a lot. There's a lot of people who are watching that and just want to help out their neighbors. So that's what I think the ward person can be, is a good communicator, a good listener to what the comments are, and want to find ways, good ways to disseminate that information. It's hard to do, but we want to work to find out the best ways to get that out there. Just want to be a voice for the ward. We've got the Yost Sunoco coming up. You know, the Ohio Development Director through the Port Authority gave $350,000. Kimberly talked about that tonight. That process will move forward, assessment, remediation, and just want to make sure the ward has a voice in that and what can happen. I like to think the ward, kind of in closing, is kind of like a quilt. You know, it's like a patchwork. We've got residential. We've got a lot of old stock, you know, 1850s and up. We've got newer homes. We've got apartment complexes. Ward 1's got several senior living facilities. We've also got the businesses, unique businesses, Serenity, Common Ground, Fire Decks, you know, you see them on the Chase commercial, Root Candles. And then we've got the industrial section in Ward 1. We've got Sandridge Foods, Discount Drug Mart, Corpro, McJack Candy. You don't realize the McJack Candy is all over. It's just private labeled. You don't know that's McJack. And then also the public sector. We've got the jail, Juvenile Detention Center, McDowell Phillips Museum, so a lot of public. So I think that the ward is a very diverse ward, but it demands good representation to maintain that unique character and charm that it has. So again, I'd like to ask for your consideration, ask for your vote this evening.
Thank you. And I'll start the question part of this process now, so Mr. Simpson will be first, and we'll just go down the row.
Okay.
Hi, Chet. Thanks again for stepping up to the plate and putting your name forward. I mean, you know from past experiences that there's good and bad things that happen with any job, and this job would be no different. More good than bad, though. But my question to you, this board is a nonpartisan board. It's been that way since the city was chartered. I believe it was back in the 1950s. I'm a staunch supporter of the nonpartisanship on this board. I'd like to know your feelings. Are you in favor of it remaining nonpartisan? If not, what would you do to change it?
Definitely in favor of the nonpartisan. You can have so much exchange of ideas back and forth among each other and come to collective agreement. Yeah.
Thank you.
My question is going to be, and as a resident of the city of Medina, what do you view as the most pressing issue facing the city of Medina at this time?
I think maybe just the pedestrian issues. There are I walk a lot, and there are so many people that are distracted drivers. They're blowing stop signs. They're in a hurry. I'm so thankful that the kids don't walk to Garfield School anymore. You know, they got the big backpacks on. It's hard for them to look right and left, but there's just, everybody's in such a hurry, they don't take the time. So I think just the distracted driving and just not following the traffic laws is a huge problem in our little area.
Thank you. Mr. Shields?
Thank you, Chet, for being here this evening. My question for you is, when you tell somebody you are from Medina and they ask you, what do you love most about living in Medina, what's your answer? I'd say the people. When one of the things that my takeaway when I served previously on council was that, yes, there were some problems, and I've gotten chewed out many, many times. But the whole highlight of it was there's so many people that I never would have met otherwise. And people have good hearts. And it was just so good to meet them and just take away from them and just that camaraderie in the city. It's just full of good citizens. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Rose?
Thank you, Mr. President. Thank you for being here, Chet. I know Joelle has helped Fran in making sure that the pantries are filled. Okay.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you. And do appreciate you being here. What would you say the top 3 issues that you would attack first in Ward 1 are, and how would you use your past experiences to fix them?
Well, I think obviously the safety issues would be one, whether that's traffic or just to make sure it's user-friendly. I guess I'd like to see us look more at apartments. I've got a neighbor that she's in a terrible situation. Her home is not up to standards, and I'm not sure how livable it is. So maybe we should revisit, sorry, Mr. Coyne, if apartments should be inspected with some frequency, if there needs to be baseline inspections, annual inspections to make sure they're safe. And the third, I don't know if it's an issue or not, but just that communication. So many people are disconnected to what the city can offer, what city offerings are available, and we just need to disseminate that information. I hope that answers it.
Thank you.
Thank you. Mrs. Salvo?
Hi. How you doing, Chet? Nice to see you. Thank you for taking your time out today. As I'm sure you're aware, Medina City has an aging population. We have one of the oldest average ages of cities our size in this area. And one of the things that I know our young people struggle with is finding a place to live that they can afford. Do you have any thoughts about how we might be able to find a way to help them stay here so we don't lose that population and help them find a place to live?
That's a good one. You're pretty much locked into apartments, and I know north of town, they're going to be developing all that in the old Bohattie area. I guess apartments in old housing stock, if it gets retrofitted or made into apartments or splits, we don't really have any extra buildable lots in the city. We've determined our size, so we're not going to expand on that. Yeah.
All right, well, thank you, Chet. Thanks for your time. You can now join the audience and sit. We have one more candidate. Chief, if you'd be so kind to bring up the last candidate. As I did mention, there were 5 candidates. One didn't show this evening, so we have 4. So that's where we stand. So we'll hear from the last candidate, Holly, here in a second. If the chief is able to come back. Jess is watching. Okay, welcome, Holly. You're the last one. If you could come to the chair over here and just sit, and what we'll do is we'll give you an opportunity to explain why you submitted your application to fill the Ward 1 vacancy. As you know, filling this vacancy and applying for the seat to fill the vacancy, you are required to run for office this fall. So you would have to, get back on the ballot to retain the seat. So we'll give you an opportunity to introduce yourself, explain why you wanted to apply for the Ward 1 vacancy, and after that opportunity of you to explain and provide whatever information you'd like to council, each council member will ask you a question. It'll be the same question that was asked of the other applicants, so that we can judge you on your responses and how you respond to each of our separate questions. So at this time, I'll give you the floor to go ahead and introduce yourself and give us an explanation of why you would like to seek the Ward 1 vacancy.
Okay. Well, good evening. My name is Holly Becht. I am a resident of Medina here for the last 20 years. Prior to that, I lived in Seville, so I grew up around here. I live here with my 2 dogs and a cat. And I am a realtor with eXp Realty. Prior to that, I was an executive assistant for 20 years. Now that I've been in real estate and starting to get more involved in the community, I started sitting on committees within the Medina County Board of Realtors. This year, I was voted in as a director for the Medina County Board, and I also sit on the Legislative Committee, the Housing Opportunity Committee, and the Promotions Committee with the board. I was also accepted just recently to the Ohio Realtors Leadership Academy. And so as I started getting more involved with just some of these different programs, I started getting more of an interest in kind of the politics of it and how all the different things run, seeing what it's like to sit on a committee and, how those committees work to promote different aspects of the community. And so being on the legislative committee within the board, we take on different cities and we have to basically report on what's happening. So Medina is my city, so I started coming to the council meetings and getting more involved and seeing how the council meetings run. And so it just kind of seemed to naturally progress into helping me, kind of understand more of what's happening and how you guys work. But I also started getting more interested in the back end of it, which is why I'm running for Ward 1 Council.
Well, thank you. So at this time, we'll go through the council, and they'll ask the questions, and we're going to start with Mr. Simpson here, and we'll just go down the row. So, Denny?
Thank you, Holly, for putting your name forward here and being willing to get involved. Don't be nervous.
I'll try
I
not
can
to.
tell you're nervous. Don't be nervous. My question, it's pretty cut and dry. Back in the 50s, and the charter was developed to make this a municipality, it was deemed that this board would be nonpartisan. I'm a strong supporter of the being nonpartisan. I would like to know if you support being a nonpartisan group, or if you don't support it, what would you do to try to change it?
I support being nonpartisan for as a council member, because I think that, you know, your interests are for the people, not your own political aspirations.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. My question is going to be, as a resident of the city of Medina, what do you think is the most pressing issue facing the city at this time?
Besides the deer population?
Well, it could be the deer population, whatever you think it is.
I think that affordable housing is you know, is a big thing. Resident safety, but you know, I also don't know everything about everything. So I would love to hear more about what the residents have to say and what they think, you know, is important to them, so that I can work to promote their interests.
Thank you. Mr. Shields?
Thank you, Holly, for being here and your interest in this position. My question for you, when you tell somebody you've lived here 20 years and they say, what do you love most about your community? What do you tell people about Medina that you love the most?
Yeah. So I love the people of Medina. They're just different things that we do as a community just really shows how loving this community is. I mean, I think that's evidenced by just the last event that they had with the Castle Noel and you know, bringing in the people from North Carolina. Like, we have so many exciting ideas as a people in this community, and I think that Medina does such a great job in enacting that, all those different ideas and letting them come to life and allowing the people to really shine. So, you know, it's very, I don't know, it's just such a loving community.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Rose.
Thank you, Mr. President. Thank you for being here this evening, Holly. What would you say in your view, the top 3 pressing issues of Ward 1 are, and how would you use your work experience to resolve them?
That is a great question. I guess, you know, again, I don't know everything about what is the residents of Ward 1 are, you know, worried about. But as a realtor, you know, I have experience with being involved in a lot of the things in the city. And I have access to other realtors, like especially like on the legislative committee. So we get together and as a group, when people are coming in into office, we get to interview candidates. We work closely with the state to interview like the political people coming in at the state level. And then we do a lot of things with like realtors at the Rotunda, and just to keep involved with the different things that are happening at the state level as well, just to keep involved. But so I have that experience and I have that availability. But the three, to get back to your question with what the things are, I know the deer is definitely an issue in Ward 1. I think resident safety is also an issue. And then just as far as like building an enterprise over in that area, I think those are the three main issues.
Building, what was that, the last word?
Enterprise.
Enterprise,
Yeah.
okay, all right, thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. DeSalvo.
Thank you, Mr. President. Thank you for coming tonight, Holly. And you actually kind of touched on this a little bit. I'm sure you're aware Medina has an aging population. We have one of the oldest average ages of a city our size in the area. And one of the problems is that our young people don't have a place to live because they are priced out of the market. So oftentimes, even if they're looking for a house or if they're trying, the competition for apartments is also pretty tough. Do you have any thoughts about what we might be able to do to encourage those people to stay here and help them find a place to live?
You know, that's a good question. And it's not just here, unfortunately, it's statewide that this is happening. But, you know, I encourage them to reach out to realtors that they know, because I feel like especially the younger generation, I feel like they're afraid to maybe reach out to people to help them look, and they think that they can do it on their own. And that, you know, that's not necessarily helpful to anybody because, you know, they may be missing out on resources that are available to them. But, you know, if you can work with the state, like I know a lot of the state levels are trying to get involved locally as well. But I guess I'm not, I don't know.
That's okay. It's okay.
I guess other than just really like getting involved in and working with like the builders, and, you know, I think that the council does a great job of looking at some of the things that we do have coming up, whether it be, you know, like empty land that we could utilize for housing developments or things like that. Yeah, it's a problem everywhere, unfortunately.
It is. Thank you.
Well, thank you, Holly, for your time. At this time, council is going to recess and go into executive session to discuss the four of you candidates and come back and reconvene in the council and take action on who council has selected. Just so everybody is fully aware, Reggie Hare had a family emergency. However, she did review all of your applications and did go through and do a ranking of which one, you know, as she would select. What we do in executive sessions, we do review everybody, and then each individual of us will make a ranking, and then we take those rankings and do a judgment on, you know, on the rankings, what one had the lowest number, and then we discuss, you know, the top candidates from that point. So we'll probably be in recess here probably for 15 to a half an hour, so you can sit back, relax, talk amongst yourself. If you'd like to stay, we hope everybody stays, especially the candidates. We would come back and then we would make the determination. So at this time, Mr. Shields?
I will make a motion for council to go into executive session to consider the appointment of a public official at 8:50 PM to include just the council members.
Second.
Will the clerk please call the roll?
Yes.
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 Simpson.
Yes.
Motion passed.
At this time, we're in recess, and we'll be back hopefully sooner rather than later.
And I just want to thank everybody that was interviewed tonight. You all did a great job. You really did. It's going to be a hard decision for all of us.
I guess we can go to there. Okay, everybody. Mr. Shields?
I just want to make sure we put on the record that at 9:17, council came back out of executive session into our regular session here.
Okay, now we're back into regular session. We've discussed each of the candidates. I just want to say, we've also discussed that this group of candidates over the years that we've had empty seats to fill, were probably by far the most qualified to fill a seat. We've really, we're very excited that the interest and the qualifications for the seat are fantastic. We hope that no matter who is chosen here tonight, that everybody that has applied for the seat, runs for office. I think everybody here has really astounded us, to be honest with you. The answers to our questions, we were quite amazed. But what we did in the back is we ranked everybody, then looked at the numbers, and they were all very close. And so we had to make a decision who would be selected to fill the Ward 1 seat. And after our deliberations, we all agreed upon that Chet Simmons would be the one that would fill the seat from all the discussions that we've had. And we hope, again, that everybody runs for that office. Everybody was great. It was a tougher decision than we thought. So with that, congratulations on everybody. And Chet, congratulations to you. I think the next meeting would be February 24th. You would have to sit up here and you'd have to be sworn in prior to that time, because you can't do anything until you're sworn in. So just remember that. So again, thank everybody for coming, and we thank everybody for their application and their questions. So with that, the meeting is adjourned.